Hello, I'm Coach Natalie, and welcome to another episode of Jiu Jitsu for Dummies. Now, if you've been following this series for any length of time, you'll know that we've already covered the S mount and the arm bar in episode 10. Today we're going to be covering a simpler version of that, as well as a cool little remount to get back onto your partner if the arm bar doesn't work, or you have something else in mind. So let's check it out. Okay, let's break it down. So there's a variety of ways to do an arm bar. You may find yourself on the mount, and if you decide that you'd like to do the arm bar that we just learned, first you have to be aware your opponent usually is not laying there with their arms out. If they've done jiu-jitsu for any length of time, they're going to be, covering their neck, keeping their arms in. So first thing we need to do is we need to isolate one arm. Now, I'm going to assume Sally here, my jiu-jitsu opponent, is going to be having her arms, in some way. I want to first post on her chest. Now, there's a variety of ways that we can do it. The simplest way that works for me is I'm going to be grabbing her lapel, and I'm going to be just grabbing her lapels on either side of one arm. Almost doesn't matter what arm. I'll pick this arm actually. So grab one lapel, grab the other lapel, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be pressing down on her chest enough to turn myself at a 90-degree angle like this. Now we call this technical mount, or in a previous episode we've also referred to this as triple threat. Now Sally's arm here is kind of in the way. So what I'm going to do is I want to get her arm out of between my legs, and I really want to extend it and isolate it. So I'm grabbing her arm, reaching up, doing what we call a figure 4 grip, and I'm actually pulling her up to one side. So that's really clearing her arm out from inside my legs. Now, what I want to do with this arm is I'm going to reach over and grab my own lapel. Now, if I'm not wearing a lapel, I could grab my underarm, grab my shoulder, but in this case, I'm wearing a gi, so I'm gonna grab my lapel. I'm now gonna lean south. The same time I'm leaning south, I'm grabbing this arm and sticking my far leg in so that my foot is right next to her head. So, you can kind of see why it's now called the S mount. My leg is going this way, this way, and this way. So, trap the arm, insert the leg. The benefit of me leaning south is now it makes this leg nice and light, and it can go over her head. I'm going to square up. I'm going to pinch this arm between my two knees. And now it's just a regular armbar. I'm going to make sure that her thumb is pointing towards the ceiling. secure one elbow and one wrist, go down, and do the arm bar. Now, this is the fancy part. I'm going to make my legs go south. Now I'm going to roll on my hip and get back to the remount. Which means that now, of course, we can do it from the other side. Again, Sally here got a lot of fight in her. She's still interested in rolling. So again, I'm going to grab her lapels, but trapping one arm. Now I'm going to do it from the other direction. I'm going to post and get into what we call the triple threat, or the technical mount. Since her arm still seems to be kind of inside my legs, I really want to get rid of it. I'm going to lift to a Kimura or figure four grip. Really, that's almost like pulling her onto one side, but at very least it's freeing this arm. So again, reaching over, trapping her arm in my lapel. I'm going to go south at the same time I free up this other arm, and inserting my foot next to her head. This makes my other leg nice and light. Put it over the head, square up, sit down, and again, one hand is already on the elbow, so the other hand just needs to be on the wrist. Make sure that her arm is pointed so that her thumb is up. My bottom is very close to her. Slowly, slowly, and you should have the tap. Again, release my legs. Now roll towards her and get to the mount. And you can kind of see that would be an endless loop if you wanted to, practice that. So how do we do this? So first thing, sorry about this. First thing I want to do is I want to post on my opponent. Now, if you've got long arms or very flexible wrists, you can, post on this and turn. I have short arms and my wrists are not very flexible, but you know what I can do? Easily, I could just grab her lapels with my fists, put both my fists into her chest, easily could post and rotate myself over. As I mentioned, people who know anything about Jiu Jitsu are always protecting their elbows. She might have elbow stuck in here, and I'm going to need to grab and lift. Now I've gotten around to her side, and I've securely gotten this arm. Now I'm going to reach over, trap, and grab my own lapel. I'm now going to sink to the south while inserting my other foot. If I'm already sinking to the south, makes it real easy to get the other leg over the head, square up, 90-degree angle. So I'm going to pinch her arm with my legs, secure one elbow, secure one wrist, make sure her thumb is upwards, and do the armbar. Rotate and remount. Now, there's a couple of mistakes that people can make. The first would be not to fully put your weight onto your partner here. Now, Sally here, when I'm sitting on Sally, I don't want to be sitting on her chest. Her ribs would provide her some kind of protection. I also don't want to be on her stomach. I really want to be on the solar plexus, and the solar plexus is kind of where your ribs come together. This is a place where people breathe from, and so if you're sitting right on there, again, I'm going to be really leaning just one thigh right on here and really being as heavy as I can. The second and subsequent mistakes will be really related to, doing a proper armbar, just from any position. When you are doing an arm bar, and you want to make sure, let's just say I have an arm here, you really want to make sure you're putting your head, your leg over their head, and then getting onto the ground. If you don't trap their head, they could sit up. Third, you really want to make sure your bottom is really close to your opponent, because this elbow needs to be above your crotch. If I'm really far away, this elbow may be below my crotch, and really there's just no way you can get an arm bar from there. Finally, as I was mentioning, when you reach back, you want to make sure that their thumb is pointed towards the ceiling. You know you have the proper orientation. And finally, this is really for the safety of your opponent. You always want to make sure that your bottom is on the floor before you start going back to do the armbar, because people have a wide variety of flexibility. And why we call it the gentle art is because we respect the tap. If someone taps, we always stop right away. If you start doing the armbar and you're still falling, they may have gotten to the point where they need to tap, and yet you're still falling further, and you're not stopping. So you're in a very dominant position. Again, pinching this arm with my knees. I got one elbow. I got a wrist. I am now going backwards. And whenever Sally decides that she's had enough and she's going to tap, I can stop, because I'm not already, still falling to the floor. So let's do the position from this angle. Again, Sally here, protecting herself. I'm going to isolate one arm, grab her gi, just on either side of this one arm. I'm going to pull myself into a triple thread, or a technical mount. If I have to, I'll lift up this arm, and that gets me even a little bit further down and isolates this arm a little further. Trap the arm. Insert the leg. Get the other leg across the head. Square up. Pinch. Secure elbow and wrist. Tap, tap, tap. She's like, oh. Legs. Over. That's how you do another version of the S mount and armbar. As I said, I've covered another slightly different version of this in episode 10. So I would say, feel free to check that one out. A few more details. And then this brings me to a point, as I was mentioning, sometimes when we learn a move, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like our body would work that way. And we say, I'm just not going to learn this move. I was actually thinking about that recently when I was having this very same lesson with my professor. And, he's like, put your hands on the chest. And I was like, my arms are too short as it is. My wrists don't bend that way. And I was like, you know what, Natalie? Let's play with the move. And let's see how we can make it work for you. So I was sitting on my dummy here, trapping one arm. And I said, well, how would I secure myself on this person? I said, you know what? I have no problems grabbing their lapel. First of all, it makes me a little taller. This is pretty short. Now I've added a few inches. Second, I'm really secure on my partner here. So it's secure enough to lift myself up and move myself into a 90-degree angle. The other thing is, remember when I was saying, you're going to grab this, trap this arm, and you're going to grab your gi, but, what if they're, you're at the beach. I don't know why you'd be attacked by a shirtless person at the beach, and you yourself are not wearing a shirt, but who knows? Maybe you are. So, you don't have a gi. Now, normally they'll say, well, just grab your shoulder. Well, you know what? Again, my arms are kind of short, but you know what? I have no problem with grabbing the little muscle in my underarm here. So I guess the message that I would give to you is, if your teacher teaches it a certain way, try it out. Try it the best way you can following those. But if it doesn't seem right, and there still seems to be some problems, you know, play with the position. Make some adjustments. In the end, you're the person doing the jiu-jitsu, and, you know, we want it to work for you. So, you know, learn what your teachers teach you, but, you know, don't hesitate to make it your own. And thank you for learning with Jiu-Jitsu with me. I appreciate your support, gaining new subscribers, and then sharing the lessons with others. You can follow me. I have a Facebook page, Natalie Jiu-Jitsu. Reach out to me there. Suggest a move. Love to hear from you. And thank you for joining me again for another episode of Jiu Jitsu for Dummies.